Friends, today we're going to dive into the very important topic of how to motivate a sales team when sales are down. Now, we've all seen great teams that have fallen into a slump, and sales teams are no different. But what makes the difference between those that stay in a slump and those that come out of a slump usually has to do with a great manager or great leader that can pull that team out of a slump, and a solid understanding about how to motivate them and what motivates them. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So nothing can be more challenging than having a sales team in a slump. It happens to the best of us, but getting out of a slump quickly is super important. Today, I want to make sure that I give you the golden nuggets on how to do just that. By first understanding a sales mindset, then secondly, what not to do, and third, creating a vision for them that's connected to their why, and finally, building a belief and confidence in them. If you're ready, let's go. First off, let's understand a sales mindset. What motivates them? Now, interestingly enough, sales reps are usually motivated by different things. Now, all of them are motivated by money, usually. However, I've seen in organizations that I've ran, some are motivated by the carrot, some are motivated by the stick. Now, what does that mean? The carrot is usually that thing that's dangling out in front of them that they want to pursue, that they want to get. So they're motivated to get the carrot, right? So that's usually incentives, that's high praise, but some are motivated by the stick. Now, what does that mean? So regarding a stick, it's like a swat on the hand, right? So to speak. So that's usually a detriment that will happen if sales don't improve. Now, in my career, I've managed 3 massive sales organizations. The first one, they were so motivated by the carrot, right? They loved incentives, they loved high energy, they wanted everything to do with what's the prize, what's the next thing I can get. And it was awesome. I mean, that's kind of how I was motivated. The second group, ironically, was motivated by the stick. And I'm not typically a big stick guy, but it came to the point where I had to say, listen, guys, if we don't hit our numbers, the leads we're able to get aren't going to be as plentiful as they have in the past. And so the detriment or the cause for them not performing is what motivated them to keep going. And the third group that I managed, they were different than the other two. This group was more interested in security, knowing that they would be taken care of and they'd be provided for regardless of what happened. Each group was so different, it was interesting and a good education for me as a manager. So now that we've talked about what motivates a salesperson, let's talk about what you cannot do if a sales team is in a slump. And this might be one of the most important things to do, because realize this team is already in a slump, and if you do the wrong thing, it could send them deeper into a slump, making it much more difficult to pull them out of that slump. I think gone are the days where it's hellfire and brimstone coming down on a sales team that isn't performing. Especially with the workforce that's entering the market now, that strategy most likely will not work. Gone are the days of Glengarry, Glen Ross, or Boiler Room, right? Where you can stand up and just berate somebody and expect your team to perform. That's not the case anymore. I've seen those sales floors in action, and I can tell you it does not work. I remember, this is way back when, and so maybe it worked a little bit back in the day, but I remember thinking like, what in the world's happening here? I remember a sales organization and a specific sales manager who said he liked to get in front of his group and publicly berate or even fire somebody on the spot in front of everybody. He felt like that motivated them to perform. When they saw somebody getting the axe, they knew they had to perform or they were next. And I remember thinking to myself, is that the best way to motivate a sales team, especially when sales are down? I really felt it wasn't. The next step to get them out of a slump is helping them create a vision. So the thing that I like to do is help them create a vision for themselves and a vision for them as a collective group. So how do you do that? First off, I take the individual back to their why. Why did they get involved in sales? Why did they work for their organization? What was it that really got them interested in moving forward? Everybody has a why. Everybody has a why they wake up in the morning, why they do what they do, why they put time and energy and effort into something. And if you could connect an individual back to their why, a lot of time that repurposes what they do, it re-engages that motivation and gets them working better and harder than they have before by connecting them to that why. From a macro or team level, it's connecting them to a cause. I was at an event a few weeks ago, and a gentleman spoke about how organizations that he's worked with, they really focused on a cause within their organization. So the company that I currently own, our mantra or our cause is helping people reach their full potential. That is a macro or a team vision, but honestly, if people buy into that, really helping people reach the potential, not just the customer, but the people that work within the organization, that's pretty powerful. And honestly, when that's why you show up every day at work, it's hard to be upset, frustrated, depressed, angry. It's really easy to be engaged in something when you have a purpose that you're driving towards, especially as a team. Another thing that I feel works really well to pull a sales team out of a slump is incentivizing them on activity. Right? Now, as a sales organization, sales leaders, we know what activities lead towards sales. So to go out and incentivize them on getting sales when they haven't gotten sales or have gotten low sales for a period of time might be the wrong approach initially. But if we know that if they do these certain activities, it's going to lead towards sales, rewarding them for those activities is going to give them small little wins that eventually help them get back into a mindset of winning because they're seeing benefits from what they're doing. And eventually those rewards will lead to much bigger rewards, which are sales. And just a little bit of that incentive can go a long way to help them realize why they got in sales in the first place. Even though it might seem small, it really leads them back to get out of that slump. Finally, I think one of the most important things to motivate a team when they are in a slump is to build confidence in them. Think about it. One of the hardest things in sales is you have to have confidence. You have to portray that confidence. And if you don't, we call it the downward spiral, right? Because people that you're talking to, whether it's in person or over the phone, they buy when they hear that you're confident in a product, service, or program. And if you've lost that confidence, if you sound desperate, they sense that desperation in your voice, and the last thing they want to do is buy something. So it's actually a downward spiral, right? So you've lost confidence, you sound desperate, you lose more confidence, you sound more desperate, and it can just go down and down and down. So one of the things I like to do is let them know that I have confidence in them, right? I remember one time we just had an awful week in sales. Definitely wasn't our performance. We should have done way better. And I remember thinking like, I want to go in and just kind of rail on them a little bit. Like, what are we doing? We're so much better than this. But I remember thinking, okay, that's probably not the right approach. So instead, I showed a video, it was about 6 to 8 minutes of a thought leader, a well-known thought leader, and he talked about being able to focus on things that are within your control. Don't worry about things that are outside your control. And in doing so, it was a different approach than what they expected. And it gave them the ability to realize, listen, the beautiful thing about sales is what happened last week is gone. It's a new week, it's a new day, and I believe in you. I know what you can do. I know what you're capable of. And me having confidence in them gave them the ability to go out then that next week and perform. Now, those are experiences that I've had in sales. And I love sales for that reason, right? Because there's so many things you can do as a manager or leader that really drive performance, especially when the sales team are down. But that's my experience. I'd love to hear your feedback. What have you done in your organization or with your team to help them pull out of a slump when they're in one? And as always, remember, I've got a free gift here for you. It's my 12-part sales training. It's amazing. Each part's normally $100, but I'm giving it away for free. It's called Persuasion and Influence. Just click on the link below, aaronsSalesTraining.com, and receive that free gift. Thanks and have a great day.